So this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video than what we're used to making. Today we are talking about the recently relocated Arizona Coyotes and the new Utah hockey team that is going to be coming into the NHL for next season. Now, at the time of recording this audio, we do not know what they're going to be called. We don't know what their logo is. There was some speculation floating around saying that the Utah team might just call themselves Utah Hockey Club for the entire 24-25 season, which in my opinion is just totally dumb. Like, bro, you've got an entire summer. All it would take is like a week's worth of meetings to get a name done, right? Leave it up to a fan vote or anything if you really were stuck for names. But that may not be the case because on Tuesday, earlier this week, we had ourselves applications filed with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for trademarks on the following names: the Utah Blizzard, Utah Venom, Utah Fury, Utah HC, and Utah Hockey Club. As usual, Clark Rasmussen is on the case when it comes to new NHL team names. Now, Greg Wyszynski tweeted this out. It's linked to a DetroitHockey.net article. Let's go out there and read this piece on the website. Link is going to be in the description. Early Utah hockey trademark thoughts, Utah HC. I said last week that I expected the search for was the potential NHL Utah team name to be much different than what we had seen in the past, and that's already proving to be true. Since then, the NHL Board of Governors has met and officially voted to establish a new franchise in Salt Lake City, Utah, with the hockey operations assets of the Arizona Coyotes transferred to the new team. New owner Ryan Smith said the team is likely to take the ice in generic jerseys. That said, I've been monitoring domain name registrations and trademark applications, and something somewhat interesting came up today. I almost ignored it, but after discussing it over at Chris Creamer's Sports Logo community, it's so different from the norm that I do think it's worth noting, even if it's nothing. On Tuesday, the following applications were filed with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for trademarks in the following names, and it's the same names that we had seen: Utah Blizzard, Utah Venom, Fury, HC, and Hockey Club. All of those have matching domain registrations that were made last week, anonymously of course, and all of the domain registrations, except for Blizzard, seem to have been made by the same group. And this is the trademark applications for each of these 5 names. I said that we should expect more anonymity involved in potential team names this time around, and what sticks out about this group is the level of anonymity they seem to be going for. Speaking anecdotally, domain squatting attempts are easy to remain anonymous for, but it's harder with trademark squatting. Trademark applications are in a public database and require an address and name attached to them. You can hide behind an LLC, but that's another level of paperwork where you're expected to name an actual person, a registered agent, who can respond on behalf of the company. Now, there are a lot of other examples here that are talked about. They also updated, as noted by Greg Wyszynski, literally minutes after this was originally posted, Ryan Smith hinted that the team may use a generic name for its first season, like the Utah Hockey Club or the Utah HC. Those trademarks would cover that notion. Now, here's the thing about Utah HC or Utah Hockey Club. It's very old-fashioned. Like, we've seen the olden days in the NHL. There's like Montreal Hockey Club or Toronto Hockey Club, or even now in football, Toronto FC or whatever. The thing is, the HC name doesn't really get used anymore in North American hockey. It's used a lot in Europe nowadays. Like, you'll see like a whole bunch of EHC Kloten or whatever, like random teams in Europe that have the HC attached to them. HC Davos, Sparta Praha HC, stuff like that. So North American hockey doesn't really have this format anymore, so it is very old-fashioned if Utah decides to go with an HC or a hockey club kind of name. It's just very basic. It lacks identity, I guess you could say. Wouldn't it be kind of weird, too? Like, having a season where you're playing the Utah HC, and everybody gets used to saying Utah HC, Utah HC, Utah Hockey Club. And then, by the time 2025, 2026 rolls around, that's when it's like, okay, now we're the Venom. We're the Utah Venom. And like, oh, we have to stop saying Utah HC? Like, everybody's gonna get used to saying it. I mean, language and the way that people perceive sports, these kinds of things can set in stone very quickly at the beginning, so I'd be very careful with the idea of going with a regular generic name to start it out. And then, of course, I don't think it'd be pretty logical to have Utah HC as your name and then switch it like halfway through the season to Fury or whatever. Like, as I had said, it would probably take at max a week to get everybody in the organization, in a room, and say, hey, what do we want this name to be? Because we have a whole bunch of people that are going to be representing this team in the marketing department and the jerseys and everything. We need to make a logo. You got an entire summer to figure this out. Like, it would probably be pretty easy to determine a name. Why do you have to go with a random generic one? But of course, if they feel they need to do that, then okay, they'll do what they want. Also, what I wanted to do with this idea in mind, with these 5 names, I wanted to explore what jerseys could actually look like, jerseys and logos. I just went on Google and I searched Utah NHL logo on the image search. This is what popped up. So, firstly, you have the Utah Grizzlies ECHL logo. Yeah, there already is some hockey in Utah, but of course they're getting an NHL team. There are a few extra names and logos and jerseys tossed out there, like this is Utah Yeti that was put on the RNHL subreddit, I'm pretty sure. There also were a few extra ideas that were tossed around here. I mean, it's all just on Google over here. If you go over to that NHL Reddit post that we were talking about, this was posted by TS20 Design. They did a really good job in making these Utah hockey branding concepts. But the thing is, I mean, a lot of people seem to really like this Yeti name, but unfortunately, as we had seen in the trademark, they didn't end up trademarking Yeti as a potential option. So that is kind of unfortunate, not gonna lie, because Utah Yeti would have made a lot of sense in my opinion too. But this user, TS20 Design, did go out there with some extra ideas too, like Utah Blizzard, which was trademarked. Salt Lake City Stags is interesting, so is Salt Lake City Eagles, but of course, we know the team is going to be Utah and not Salt Lake. Technically, like, you know, they'll play in Salt Lake, but the name is going to be Utah. So, yeah, kind of falling into similar territory as the Utah Jazz. But speaking about Utah representation, I also wanted to go over onto this article published on catcountryutah.com. Now, Cat Country 107.3, 94.9 is the Utah radio station here for country music, and it's interesting because they had themselves this article, Utah NHL team names revealed, which is best. And with this article being tossed out there, there is some amazing, amazing concept art that is included in this piece. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there is like an artist that is linked here or if these images are just made by AI. There isn't even a writer here for the article, but if this is kind of the identity that Utah can go with their hockey team, I actually really like it. So Utah Blizzard, this is like some sort of a Yeti dude with a hockey stick. This is my number one choice for the team. It makes beautiful sense for a team in the mountains in Utah. To outsiders, Utah is known for the sharp mountains, snow, and even the Winter Olympics. But what I love most about this team is the use of the double Zs. In the past, Utah has been home to many things with double Zs. The Jazz, the Stars, the Buzz, Grizzlies. St. George had the Zion Pioneers, and of course the fans. The Utah brand sports store. The Blizzards would fit right in, or not the Blizzards, but the Blizzard, singular, in the same way that you see like Colorado Avalanche, for example. I like this idea a lot. There is a crazy cool mascot. If that's going to be the guy that represents the team and the fans and everything, then that is cool. Utah Venom is also cool because they literally just put like Venom in hockey gear. That is so badass, I'm not gonna lie. It's a strong name, but doesn't make sense for Utah. Here in Utah, we have a few venomous insects like the scorpion, rattlesnake, brown lacrosse spiders, hobo spiders, and blister beetles. But does that make a lot of sense for Utah? I don't think so. If anything, it'll just give you an opportunity to make some cool Venom artwork like this. Utah Fury also has some sort of a... Oh boy, I'm gonna embarrass myself. Is that a bear? I don't know. The definition of fury is wild or violent anger, which is cool for a hockey brand, but I don't think it makes too much sense for Utah. It has absolutely nothing to do with Utah. I really don't believe this has a chance of becoming the actual name for the Utah NHL team. It does look cool. Looks pretty menacing. Maybe that is just the artwork in itself. And then there is Utah HC, which is also listed here. I have no idea what kind of animal that is, but it's got 2 horns. What kind of bear has 2 horns? I am really exposing myself for my lack of biology knowledge, but I'm not absolutely positive what the HC means, but I'm assuming it means hockey club, which is such a boring name for a Utah hockey team. The Colorado Avalanche taking on Utah HC doesn't sound very cool at all. There's no way they choose this, right? And then there's Utah Hockey Club, which is pretty much the same thing here. It's talked about in the bottom here, but either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your opinions about the Utah Hockey Club trademarking some of these names and making sure that nobody else can use them for anything? So, if it were up to you, out of these names, which one would you prefer, which one would you use, and what kind of logo would you want the most? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.